Step back into the mall culture of the 1980s, when every weekend meant walking past neon signs, grabbing an orange Julius, and exploring stores that felt like entire worlds. The 1980s were the golden age of the American mall, a time when these massive shopping centers were more than just places to buy things. They were the heart of social life, packed with specialty stores that created a vibrant culture, now long gone. In this video, we revisit 25 beloved stores from the 80s that disappeared forever. From the toy shops where kids begged to visit, to the music and electronics chains that defined an entire generation. Remember Circuit City, KB Toys, Walden Books, Service Merchandise, Tower Records, or those magical photo-developing kiosks. They once ruled the malls and main streets, but now they've vanished for good. The 80s landscape was a diverse ecosystem of retail, a far cry from the consolidated, big-box world we know today. It was an era of discovery, where every trip to the mall felt like an adventure. This nostalgic countdown brings them all back to life with the stories, memories, and cultural impact that made them unforgettable. The retail landscape of the 80s was dominated by one-stop department stores like JCPenney and Sears. These giants were the anchors of the mall, offering everything from clothing and appliances to automotive services. But alongside them were a host of smaller, regional department store chains that also vied for shoppers' attention. Stores like Montgomery Ward, with its sprawling catalogs and diverse product lines, were fixtures in communities across the country. Many of these competitors, however, couldn't survive the intense competition and changing consumer habits of the decades that followed, leaving only the biggest names standing, and even they would eventually face their own struggles. No 80s mall was complete without the blinking lights and futuristic promise of an electronics store. Before the internet put every gadget at our fingertips, stores like Circuit City and Radio Shack were the go-to destinations for the latest tech. These were the temples of sound and vision, where you could find state-of-the-art stereos, massive boomboxes for your shoulder, and the all-important VHS players that fueled family movie nights. Walking into a Radio Shack felt like stepping into a tinkerer's paradise, with drawers full of mysterious components, cables, and connectors. These stores weren't just retailers. They were the places where an entire generation was introduced to the technology that would shape the future. Long before online retailers made millions of titles available with a single click, bookstores were cherished community hubs. Chains like Walden Books and B. Dalton, often found tucked into a cozy corner of the mall, made reading feel accessible and exciting. They were sanctuaries of quiet exploration, where you could spend hours browsing the aisles, discovering new authors, and flipping through the latest bestsellers. The scent of fresh paper and ink filled the air, and the staff often knew their customers by name. These stores fostered a love of reading that was personal and tangible, creating a culture that has been difficult to replicate in the digital age. For any kid growing up in the 80s, the toy store was pure magic. Places like Toys R Us and KB Toys were more than just stores. They were destinations. Toys R Us, with its warehouse-style layout and Geoffrey the Giraffe, was an overwhelming paradise of play. The aisles seemed to stretch for miles, stacked high with the latest action figures, dolls, and video games. KB Toys, a smaller but equally beloved mall staple, was famous for its chaotic, jam-packed shelves and incredible clearance sales. The holiday rush at these stores was a spectacle of pure madness, with parents scrambling to find that one must-have toy, creating memories of childhood wonder that have lasted a lifetime. Friday night in the 80s often began with a trip to the video rental store. Chains like Blockbuster and Hollywood Video turned movie night into a weekly family tradition. The experience was a ritual in itself. The thrill of browsing the aisles, the debates over which movie to pick, the disappointment of finding the last copy of a new release already rented, and the mad dash to return the tapes on time to avoid late fees. These stores offered a curated selection of films, from blockbuster hits to quirky cult classics, and the Be Kind, Rewind stickers on each cassette became an iconic part of the era's pop culture. In the 80s, music was a physical and social experience, and stores like Tower Records and Sam Goody were its cathedrals. Tower Records, with its massive, encyclopedic selection of vinyl, cassettes, and CDs, was a cultural landmark where you could lose yourself for hours. It was a place where music lovers gathered, where you could discover new bands based on album art alone, and where the staff were passionate experts. Sam Goody, a fixture in malls across America, offered a more streamlined but equally essential experience, making the hunt for the latest chart topper an exciting part of any mall trip. These stores made music personal, something to be held, collected, and shared in a way that streaming services can't quite replace. Before digital cameras and smartphones made everyone a photographer, developing your pictures was a necessary and often exciting ritual. This need gave rise to photo development centers, most notably the iconic photomat kiosks. These tiny, drive-through huts, often found in the middle of a shopping center parking lot, promised 1-hour photo processing. You'd drop off your roll of film and return a short while later to pick up a packet of glossy prints, eagerly flipping through them to see how your memories turned out. Mall photoshops also thrived, offering a convenient spot to get your vacation photos developed while you shopped. The anticipation and delayed gratification of film photography is a feeling that has all but vanished in our instant gratification world. The 80s had a look all its own, and fashion chains like Merry-Go-Round, Chess King, and Esprit were the arbiters of style for an entire generation of teens. Merry-Go-Round was the destination for edgy, club-ready fashion, with bold colors and trendy silhouettes that screamed new wave. Chess King catered to the fashion-forward young man, offering everything from parachute pants to skinny ties. Esprit, with its clean lines, vibrant pastels, and optimistic branding, captured the quintessential preppy but cool 80s aesthetic. Shopping at these stores wasn't just about buying clothes. It was about crafting an identity and belonging to a tribe. Before Walmart became the undisputed king of retail, a diverse array of discount stores served as everyday shopping staples for families across America. Chains like Ames, Zayre, and Venture were the workhorses of the retail world, offering a wide range of goods at affordable prices. These were the places you went for everything from household essentials and clothing to toys and garden supplies. While they may have lacked the polish of the big department stores, they were reliable and familiar parts of the community, representing a more regional and less monopolized era of discount shopping that was eventually swallowed by consolidation. One of the most unique retail concepts of the 80s was the catalog showroom, and service merchandise was its undisputed champion. This store blended the experience of browsing a thick, glossy catalog with a physical showroom where you could see the products in person. To make a purchase, you'd fill out a form, hand it to a clerk, and wait as your item magically appeared on a conveyor belt from the back warehouse. This innovative model, a precursor to today's click-and-collect systems, felt futuristic at the time, but it ultimately became obsolete in the face of more streamlined big-box retailers and the rise of e-commerce. For sports enthusiasts and aspiring athletes, sporting goods shops like Herman's Sporting Goods were an essential part of the 80s retail landscape. These stores were everywhere, found in malls and shopping plazas, offering a comprehensive selection of gear for every imaginable sport. Whether you needed a new baseball glove, a pair of high-top basketball sneakers, or the latest ski equipment, Herman's was the place to go. They were the reliable mid-sized champions of the sporting world, before giant superstores like Dick's Sporting Goods and Sports Authority came to dominate the market and wiped these classic chains off the map. The 80s were also a great time for hobbies and crafts, with a thriving ecosystem of specialty stores catering to every interest. Places like Hobby Haven and local model shops were havens for enthusiasts, filled with intricate model airplane kits, train sets, and all the paints and glues needed to bring them to life. Small craft chains offered supplies for knitting, macrame, and other DIY projects that were popular at the time. As leisure time shifted toward video games and computers, and as online retailers began offering a wider selection, many of these charming specialized stores vanished, taking a piece of hands-on creativity with them, while large chains like Tower Records were major players. The 80s music scene was also supported by countless smaller record and tape outlets. These stores were often independently owned and packed from floor to ceiling, with vinyl LPs, cassette singles, and band posters. They were the heart of teen culture, places where you could hang out after school, listen to new music at designated listening stations, and debate the merits of your favorite bands with friends. This vibrant subculture, built around the physical ownership of music, fostered a deep sense of community that is difficult to find in the solitary experience of digital streaming. Before the Home Depot and Lowe's built their warehouse-style empires, the hardware industry was defined by smaller, local chains and independent stores. These neighborhood hardware stores were run by knowledgeable staff who could guide you to the exact nut, bolt, or tool you needed for your weekend project. They were a cornerstone of the community, offering a level of personal service and expertise that is rare today. As the big box megastores began to expand rapidly, their massive inventory and economies of scale made it impossible for most of these smaller hardware chains to compete, forever changing the way we shop for home improvement supplies. The air in an 80s mall was often thick with a potent mix of competing fragrances, thanks in large part to perfume and beauty chains. Kiosks and small stores like the perfume center were a staple of the mall concourse. Their glass cases filled with bottles of the decade's most popular scents, from Obsession to Drakkar Noir. These shops offered a focused, accessible way to test and purchase fragrances, but their business model began to fade as department store beauty counters expanded and beauty giants like Sephora, along with online brands, completely transformed the way people buy cosmetics and perfume. For a child in the 80s, a trip to the mall wasn't complete without a visit to a candy and novelty shop. Stores like the Sweet Factory were a true sugar heaven, with walls lined with clear bins of bulk candy. The real magic was being able to grab a plastic bag and a scoop, creating your own custom mix of gummy bears, sour worms, and jelly beans. The sheer variety and the hands-on experience made it an unforgettable part of the mall adventure. These stores were a paradise of simple joys, a colorful and sweet-smelling world that has largely been replaced by pre-packaged candy aisles in supermarkets. The 80s were a time of bold design, and that extended to home decor. Furniture showrooms like Levitt's Furniture were iconic retailers of the era. Known for their massive showrooms and unique sales model, you would browse styled room displays for inspiration and then make your purchase, often receiving your furniture directly from an attached warehouse. Levitt's was famous for its aggressive advertising and frequent sales events, making it a go-to for families furnishing a new home. However, a combination of financing issues and intense competition from new, more modern furniture retailers eventually forced these once dominant chains to close their doors. Perhaps the greatest loss from the 80s retail scene is the decline of mom-and-pop specialty stores. While the decade saw the rise of the mall, many communities still had vibrant main streets filled with unique, family-run shops. There were independent bookstores, local toy shops, and quirky boutiques that each had their own distinct personality and a deep connection to their customers. The 80s represented a transitional period, the last hurrah for many of these small businesses before the overwhelming tide of national chains and, later, e-commerce made it nearly impossible for them to survive. Ultimately, the nostalgia for these lost stores runs so deep because they were more than just places to shop. They were integral parts of our lives and formative experiences. They were the backdrop for first dates, weekend hangouts with friends, and family traditions. These stores represent a bygone era of physical discovery, community interaction, and shared cultural moments. They shaped our tastes, fueled our hobbies, and created a sense of place and belonging. The memories of browsing those aisles, of the sights, sounds, and even smells, are unforgettable because they are woven into the very fabric of growing up in the 1980s. If you miss the era of real malls, toy aisles, and browsing without the internet, this video is for you. Don't forget to like, comment your favorite store memory, and subscribe for more nostalgia every week. What you'll see in this video, 80s stores that vanished forever, forgotten mall chains that defined a generation, classic toy, music, fashion, and electronics shops, why these stores disappeared. Nostalgic stories that only 80s kids will remember. For more nostalgic videos, subscribe and relive the best moments from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.